Hey, it's Trey, and welcome to my desk. Yay! First, let me put on some lip oil. I could tell as soon as I started to talk that my lips are dry. My face and lips get so dry in the winter. I have on my penguin nightgown, if you can see. And for me, it's about 9:30 on a Sunday morning. And I am happy to be sitting at my desk. Let me tell you, it has been a whirlwind in my life lately. So let me show you what I'm working on. I got a couple of little composition books. I got them at the Dollar Tree. I think they were a set of 3. And this one, I just took it and I just did this. I've just been doing this every now and then. This is just, I want to kind of experiment with it. So I've just been kind of, roughing it up with this one. I haven't been. I've just been leaving it just as is. So I've been working mainly in this one because all the brown that you see is actually shoe polish. So this is just kind of an experimental book. So I have just been doing this. I tried it watered down. I tried just straight. Just trying some different things. Glue stick, shoe polish, random bits of paper. That's all I've been doing. And I'll be honest, I'm really not all that happy with it. And I love brown, but I'm just like, ugh. But as with everything that I do, I'm going to keep going. Because I believe in every project you do, there's usually a portion where you look at it and go, oh, I hate it. Like this paper's pulling out because I got it way too wet and then I pulled it and I'm like, ah, it's awful. I'm ruining it. Also, this paper ripped right here too because it got too wet. So just know that there's always a portion where you're like, oh, that looks awful. I don't like it. Just keep going. I haven't done anything in this except for just glue paper in. So no background. This one I'll probably do black. My standard black. So yeah, but I'm kind of working in them in tandem as far as like gluing down because, I'm like ripping up papers and things like that. And you don't want to get too much of the same thing in one book, right? So anyways, I'm trying to get this one filled up first so that I can experiment with it. So this one's my main focus. So this morning I came in. Last night I worked on the shoe polish a bit. So this morning I've been going in and filling it in. And I was watching a YouTube video trying to get caught up on this court case that I've been following between Katie Paulson, known here on YouTube as Without a Crystal Ball, drinking some coffee, and Toddy Westbrook, and it's gotten quite spicy, let me tell you. But I've been watching Emily D. Baker, and this morning I was watching Uncivil Law, catching up about the case. And someone had commented, sure do miss you. Miss seeing your videos, something like that. And I thought, you know what, I could turn on the camera and talk a little bit because it has been a hot minute and I have a lot of stuff that's happened and a lot of stuff going on. So, what has happened? For one thing, my son turned 18. So yay, I raised him. I'm so happy. Um, we also filed a claim for our roof. So I had to the cats are playing, I'm listening, sorry. I had to do a lot of stuff concerning that, because that was a hassle and a half if you've ever filed a claim and all that. A lot of paperwork and all that. But then while that was going on, we also decided to refinance our house. So, and that involved a lot of paperwork, especially because the house was only in my name, but not my current name. I bought this house before I married Jeremy. So it was, I wish I would have waited, because I ended up buying it like in August and then got married in September. And I just wish I would have waited, so then it would have been under both of our names and all that, or at least my married name. So I ended up having to prove I was who I was, and to get the name change and get his name on there, and then just all kinds of paperwork and crap. And then we'd file all this stuff, and then it'd be like, oh, well, if you get new pay stubs, you got to turn those in too. And it'd be like, okay. And then it kept dragging out and dragging out. And so we had to keep sending in pay stubs and getting all that crap together. It's just, such a hassle. But it's done. And now I'm happy, because it was totally worth it. Totally worth it. So we signed the closing papers on Tuesday of this week. So that's done. The roof went on January 31st. January 31st. December 31st. And yeah. That did not go smoothly, because they didn't do what they said they were going to do. We had to call them back out. It was, we had to do a whole bunch of different things with that, because it was a claim, and you know, all the adulty things. It just sucked. And then meanwhile, work was just kicking my butt. Things kept going wrong. And then I had a whole bunch of new clients come on board. Well, not a whole bunch, but several that I had to deal with. Somehow to keep all that straight. It was just a lot of things. Just a lot of things. But I also did go and clean out my office on Tuesday. So Tuesday was a big day for me. So yeah, I went out and cleaned out my office at work. So I am officially at home full time. So that's very exciting, because that's what I was working toward anyway. And 2020 just kind of kicked that into a higher gear. Oh, there's an ad playing on my music. There we go. I have on like some copyright free music in the background. If you hear something, just pulled up a YouTube channel. I think it's lo-fi. Also, I've been practicing a whole bunch, because I got competition next week. Yay! I'm going to South Carolina. I'm very excited. But we had to kick it into overdrive because we had a team member quit, which, that sucks. If you're a part of a dance team and you're going to quit, don't quit 2 weeks before competition, because people will effing hate you. I'm just going to say. I'm just going to say. Honestly, I don't hate her. She's young. And I understand. She's got her own life, her own things going on. And she had an opportunity to do something that she wanted to do. And I don't blame her. And she actually asked me about it. And I encouraged her. I was like, look, it's your life. You can't live your life to please others. And if this is something that's very important to you, because it was a job in a pit crew, and she's always wanted to do that, and the job started the same day as our competition, so she would be missing the competition anyway, period, unless she quit that job. That's what I'm trying to say. Or not take the job. So I did counsel her to take the job. So I'm cursing her and encouraging her in the same breath. Good for her, bad for me. But I mean, actually, it'll work out. It'll work out. More than likely, we probably won't have a lot of competition there in the adult category anyway. So far, all the teams that we've seen that signed up, we don't know them to have a adult team. But then there's also several that are new, so we don't know what kind of teams they have. Several new teams. I was just really surprised of how many new teams. Is like, okay, I mean, who is putting new teams together in 2020? I mean, we had such a hard time doing practice for our established team. Through Zoom and everything else, and some of them couldn't do it and dropped out. Like my friend Amber, she just could not learn via Zoom and got so frustrated she quit. So, what else is going on? Kenan is not doing well in his studies. I'm sorry, I'm laughing that my son is doing bad in school, but that's just par for the course. I just told him the other day, I was like, just graduate. At this point, I don't care. Just graduate. Somehow graduate, son. Graduate. Just graduate, baby. He said, Mama, I promise I will. There has been a little bit of drama with that. Me and his father get along really, really well. We're good friends, and there's no animosity there. It's been a blessing, and I love his wife and all that. She's had a rough year. She lost her dad from COVID. That's very, very sad. But I know my son, and I know how he learns and all that. We've a little backstory on my son. He was born premature. He was 2 pounds 14 ounces, and the first diagnosis he had was cystic. No, was it MS? Crap, I can't remember. Anyways, it was because he was stiff, and they thought, oh, he has this, and so he started going to therapy. But he limbered up really well, so they were like, oh no, he doesn't have this, but he does have some problems. So he did occupational therapy for most of his toddler years and all that. He also went to go see a developmental specialist. He had problems crossing midline. We were told he'd never ride a bike. He'd never be able to read. Riding a bike, yeah, and they were pretty on par with that. He never did like to ride a bike. He could, but he didn't like it. He'd just run alongside the other kids. He'd rather do that. Read. Oh, they were so wrong. That boy can read so fast, just like his dad. And retain it, Lord. Because at first I thought, you're just skimming and you don't know crap. But But we went through a long thing of him not having problem with receptive language. There was this whole thing where I could say, I could give him a choice, and whatever the last choice was is what he would pick. So I could say stuff like, do you want mac and cheese or broccoli? And he'd say broccoli. Because he could not retain the first, he could only remember the last thing. He couldn't retain it in his brain or whatever. So that was good for a while, because then he felt like he was making a choice, but but I was totally tricking him. Does that make me a mean mother? I loved it. So there was things like, you couldn't tell him to do two things. Like you couldn't say, put your socks away and then put your toys away or something like that. Or put this socks in the drawer and put this plate in the sink. You couldn't do that because that was too complex for him to understand. So yeah, I mean, it made it kind of difficult. Also, I remember words that had multiple syllables. A lot of things he would make start with the sound. The one that I remember the most is for remote. He would say kermote. Kermote. I can't remember anything else off the top of my head, but that's the one I always remember because we used it a lot. Because we would say kermote. We did. Yeah, we totally encouraged it. We were bad. So then as he got older, he got a diagnosis of ADHD. We did put him on medicine for a while after he requested it. He told me one day, he said, Mama, I'm tired of being bad. Please help me not be bad anymore. And I broke my heart. And we went into the doctor and talked about medicine, and it helped him a lot. Folklin is what helped him the most. Then as he got older, more like in middle school, middle school was real rough. We started to realize maybe he had something else going on. Had him tested for autism. It came back inconclusive. The doctor pretty much said he's not on the spectrum right now, but he probably was on the spectrum at some point. But he's so clever. He's probably learned now, like proper responses or whatever. And so we say he has autistic tendencies. Because that's the way the doctor pretty much said. He's like, we know something atypical is going on. We know it. But he said, but I can't tell you what it is. There's a lot of people don't know this, but between ADHD and autism, it's on the same spectrum. So you have ADHD here, and then there's this little area, and then you have autism. And Kennan's kind of in here. And I've always been open with him about it. And he's pretty open with his friends about it. And I kid him about it all the time. So, it's just something that's normal. I've normalized it. I've never made him feel bad for it. I'll go, way to go there, autistic tendencies, and he'll just laugh because it'll be something that he takes like literal or something. I'll go like, here's a good example. I saw a meme the other day that said that mom was like, put your plate in the sink, and the kid's like, I can't, it's a bowl. And that's kind of the way Cannon is. It's like, I was asking him about his girlfriend. This is a perfect example. And I was like, does she go to like in school with you? Because Kenan is going to the physical school this semester. And he said, no. And I'm like, does she go to your school? And he's like, no. It's like I had to keep drawing out the information. I was like, oh my God. I was like, talking with you is exhausting. I said, you just don't give up anything. And so I actually started, I explained to him, I was like, when people ask you questions like that, what they're trying to, ask is they want more information about like where she goes to school. I was like, so the proper response would be, no, she goes to a different school, but I'm not sure exactly what school the school is. She told me, but I forgot. Because that's what the whole gist of the conversation was. But I had to pull out all that information. And he was like, oh, okay. And so he learns from that. He's very clever. So he's getting there. Body language. Reading a body language was hard. Guys, I had to teach my son a lot of stuff. Most people don't have to teach their kids, but I love him and he is amazing. And I am so proud of the man he's turning into. But that brings me to this story. All right, that's all the backstory. So, in the summer, around July, they said, the school board said, you have to decide if you want your kid to be in school or if you want to do virtual. So we had a parents meeting. I don't think Jeremy was there. I think Jeremy had to work. But we had a parents meeting with me, Ken, and Tara. And I was speaking on behalf of Jeremy because I already knew what he wanted. We had already spoke about it. And so we talked, and I said, I don't want Kenan to do virtual. I want him to go to school for as long as possible because he's not going to do well virtual. And Ken was like, I agree. Tara said, I agree. All that. So, come August, that must have been earlier because they started school like really early, like on August the 9th. It seems like that was probably like in June, maybe late June or something like that. And then when it came after the window where you could not change it, I asked Kenan if he was nervous about going, back to school, if he was, concerned about the COVID virus or something like that, something along those lines. And he's like, oh, I'm not going to school. And I'm like, what do you mean? And he's like, well, Dad said I could do virtual. And I was like, what the crap? So of course I get on, I text Ken and I said, I thought we agreed that he would go to physical school. And Ken said, yeah, but I figured, we might let him try the virtual. Good Lord. Willow, did you all hear her climbing up the chair? You can jump. Oh, yes, and look at her little belly. She got fixed. My sweet little Willow. She's been spayed. That's another thing. I had to take them to get spayed. They're doing good. So they're a week and a day out from their surgery now. And I have to say, they did so good. So good. They didn't seem to be sore after it. They healed really nicely. Little Willow was just very playful afterwards. I had to keep trying to calm her down. We gave them catnip the other day for the first time, and that was hilarious, guys. Hilarious. They both loved the nip, especially this little Willow right here. So I was livid that Ken had told him this and went against my wishes. But hey, what can you do? What could I do? So I didn't say anything. So now I know my son. I know my son really well, and Ken throughout the years has always deferred to me to talk to Kenan because Kenan and I do have this bond because he and I are very much alike. I understand him in a way that nobody else does. I don't know if that means that I also have autistic tendencies or if it's just because I am also ADHD. Or that I'm an empath. I have no idea. I can't explain it. But I am the one that can get through to Kenan and say things in a way that he will accept. So I know him. Right. So I was like, all right, you can do virtual. That's fine. We'll see how it works out. You come over to my house every single day and we'll just make it just like school. You come over here. I'll be working. You'll be working. It'll work out great. That was our thing. And you get a job and it'll be great because you don't have to be at school at any certain time because there was only like one class he had to like sign into at a certain time. I was like, you can get a job because I know my son and I know that he does well with structure. And if he had a job, then that would be his core, and then he would plan everything around it, and he would have done well. He would have graduated in December and everything would have been wonderful. But yet Ken stepped in once again and said, Dad told me that I don't have to get a job, that he would rather me not work and just focus on school. And he would give me $100 a month. I was so angry, guys. I was so livid because he basically Ken completely undermined me. I was so mad. Jeremy was so mad. We already knew because me and Jeremy, we know Kenan. We know how he is. We're the disciplinarians of Kenan. Ken is not. He always defers to us to control Kenan because he cannot. So, I was so angry. So angry. And I told Jeremy then, I said, this kid is not going to graduate in December. I was like, he'll end up failing. I was like, and I'm not saying anything to him. I was like, and then Ken's going to be all upset and he's going to say he's going to have to, he wants me to talk to him about his grades. I was like, I'm not going to. I was like, and then he's going to send him back to school in January and he's going to be all upset because Kennan's going to be goofing off and everything else. I was like, and he's going to want me to talk to him about his grades. He's like, and I'm not going to. I was like, I am not going to. I was like, Kennan's going to have to stand on his own. So lo and behold, Kenan is failing his classes. He's passing English, but the problem is his math is an online class that's self-guided. Now, what did we learn about Kenan? That's not good for him. He can't do that. He does not have the discipline right now to do self-guided anything. He's incapable of doing that. It doesn't matter how many times I've tried to help him. He just, it just does not resonate with him. He just doesn't get it at all. So he's supposed to be progressing in this English class at 1% a day. Now, he's been in school for 3 weeks. And how much of this math has he done? 0.1%. Way to go, son. Way to go. So Thursday, well, this is the night before Kenan went back to his father's. We have a 2-week rotation. Even though he's 18, we're still doing the rotation since he's in school. So Thursday, he sends me an email saying, we have to put our foot down with Kenan. He's like, I say, just work, just school. I keep saying work. To school and home, and that's it. Nowhere else. And I didn't respond. And then later that night, he called me. You know what? I didn't answer. Because I'm done. And I told Kenan that. I told Kenan what his dad had said, you know. But I didn't yell at Kenan about it. So, you know, I just said, look, dude, just get it done. So figure it out. I was like, I don't care. I was like, if you had to pay somebody to do that math, by God, do it. But, you know, he's clever. He'll do it. I want to show you guys something. It's reminding me of this. This is Amazon's Basics. I like this glue, but I didn't buy it from Amazon. I think it must be almost like $8 for this box, maybe. There's a place called Discovery Outlet in Hickson, Tennessee, and they had this for $2.99. They had a whole bunch of them, so I grabbed a couple boxes. So yeah, that's around Chattanooga, and that was a really cool thing. So I like them, and I think from now on, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to look up that Amazon Basics and buy a box. I have to see. How much it is, because you know it also is convenient to just grab Jot. Guys, I'm so frugal. Look at me. I can't help it. I think it's my raisin. Not raisin as in dried up grape, but as in the way that I was brought up to act. Sometimes I wonder how many Southern expressions that I say that people out there go, what? What is she talking about? You can always hit me up in the comments if I say something that you don't understand. Because I can get very deep with the Southern expressions. Because I love them so greatly. I love a good Southern expression. I love my heritage. My heritage is a strong people. That made do with what they had. You know, a lot of people associate the South with slaves and all that. But my area was very union. And also, you know, we didn't have slaves. We were barely surviving. You know, we had dirt floors, and we lived in the mountains, and we had one pair of shoes, and you know that's my people. I came from the mountain people, where we're a scrappy bunch, hillbillies. You just survived day by day with what you had, and if you didn't have it, you just made do. in my immediate family, you know, we still had that because my grandmother who raised me lived in a community called Tazewell, and the homestead that she grew up in was still standing when I was a little girl, and she showed me that they lived in just pretty much a cabin that had, it was just one room, and there was 8 kids, and they all pretty much just slept and ate and everything in that room. And she said that was the house that she, you know, she was the oldest, and so she raised her brothers and sisters, and they would go out and milk the cows and things like that. And my grandmother quit school in 8th grade because that's what was expected, especially of young women. She took care of her brothers and sisters until she was about 19 years old, and then she moved to the big city of Knoxville and got a job at a factory because that's what all the young women were doing at the time. And so her and one of her sisters, they lived together, and they moved to Knoxville to work at Standard Knitting Mill. And then they would use part of their money to pay for their apartment, and they would send the rest of the money home to take care of the children. Trying to think what else is going on. I did go out thrift shopping with my friend Shayna the other day. That was fun. She is doing a thing where she sources books and sells them on Amazon. So she's like, you know, you can go with me, but I'll be there a long time. Well, she wasn't kidding. One store we were there for 3 hours, but it didn't bother me because I just looked around and then I grabbed a book and sat down and read for a while, and it was just really nice to be out. And I did find a really good find. I was so happy. I found myself a comfy. And let me tell you, if you don't have a comfy, you need a comfy. Not a huggle, get a comfy. Comfy is the original. For the past 2 nights, I have slept in my comfy. Let me tell you, it feels so good. So good. Especially if you're cold natured. And even if you're not, get one for when you're sick. Because, oh, I'm telling you, when I put it on, that was the first thing I thought of. I was like, man, when you're running a fever and you're so cold, this will feel so good. Because it's basically like a really long sweatshirt. I got one for my mother-in-law for Christmas, and when she opened it, she didn't look very pleased with it. But I think if she'll use it, I think she will be. Because I think she thought you were supposed to wear it. Because I got confused. And when I opened her gift to me, I thought she had gotten me a comfy because it was made of the same. It was like had the white Sherpa in it, and the outside was like a color. And I thought, oh wow! And I was like, oh, yeah, cool. You got me one. I got you one. But then when I pulled it out, it was just a shirt. It was just like a sweatshirt. So I think maybe that's why she was a little confused. Because I probably confused her. Like, am I supposed to wear this out? But no, you're not supposed to wear it out. It's just a blanket. It's just another way to wear a blanket. Oh. Sorry, guys. So when we reclosed on the house and stuff, we had to do we had to do an inspection and all that. Oh my gosh, it took me forever to clean up everything and make it look nice, because even though they don't, it doesn't really matter what your house looks like or whatever. First impressions do count, so you want to make it, because if you make your house look like it's really neat and all that, then they're going to think, oh well, then they do upkeep their house. If you walk in and it looks like crap, then you think, oh man, they definitely don't. If they're not going to take care of this, they're not going to take care of other things. So, and then, we had to like make sure he could get to the air conditioning unit to check it out, different things like that. We had a bunch of stuff in the garage that needed to be donated, so I had to get, take care of that. So it was just a bunch of work for just a first impression, pretty much. So, but it was really stuff that we were going to do anyways, because we usually everything gets all piled up like during the winter, and then after Christmas and all that is when we usually do our spring cleaning. We spend like January, February, and like March, like going through closets and doing things like that. Cleaning out closets, getting rid of stuff we no longer want, going through our clothes. We always do big clean outs like that every year. So this year we just kicked it up a notch and did a lot of it for that, because then it was easier because that stuff was gone. But I still need to do a lot of it. Like I need to go through my clothes, and especially in here, and that's one of the reasons why I haven't been making a lot of videos is because I ended up cleaning up in here, and my desk was so messed up that I only had like a little portion, and I would just sit here and color. And that's all I would do, is just color. Because it's all I had room for, was just like a book and some pencils or pens or whatever. So I did have a book that I was coloring a lot in next to me. Oh, it's probably buried. So I ended up doing like a whole bunch of stuff in here. Like that. I did that. I did that. I did that. Started that. I like that. I did that. I did that. Was that it? Oh, I did that one. Oh yeah, I did that. And I did that. It's really into yellow. So yeah. I've been coloring a lot lately. And also, I've been harvesting a lot. So. Oh, excuse me. I don't mean to yawn. I just really don't know what to do with these after I make them. Do I have all of them at least have one piece of paper on them? Oh, I think so. Alright. Well, let's start with some shoe polish. I do it a couple of different ways. Sometimes I squirt it on the glass, and then I take that and put it on here. Or I can just do this. Started doing this a lot last night. I really just kind of like just doing it like this. Just straight on there. Excuse me. I really don't know where I got this idea. I know somebody suggested it as a alternative to like Distress ink. So I got it, but I don't know that I really like it because it's so sticky. I have to glue that back down. Hit it with my heat gun. Smells very leathery. It's got a good smell to it. We'll say that. I guess I could go ahead and glue that back down now. There you go. Oh, hold on. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Jeremy was bringing up some laundry, so I helped him with that, and I made myself a nice new cup of coffee. Right now we're at the 47 mark. So I don't know how much longer I'll go. Kind of running out of things to say. We were talking about our trip next week, going to South Carolina. And Jeremy was telling me that he probably won't stay for the whole competition, that he'll probably go, he'll drop me off, and then he's going to go and look at some liquor stores around there. Because he's really gotten into lately, like bourbon collecting, or I don't even know what you call it, whiskey collecting. But he's like joined a group on Facebook, and they like collect rare like bourbons and stuff. Like he's looking for Eagle Rare right now, which I think is like a single barrel whiskey. I don't know. Guys, I'm just not into it. I'm just not into it. Yesterday, he was at work, and I had just gotten finished with practice. And he's like, oh, they just dropped some Eagle Rare at Total Wine, and I'm at work. Just my luck. And I'm thinking, he's wanting me to go out there, but he's not asking me. And I'm like, I do not want to go out there. Guys, I just do not like to go into liquor stores. I don't. And a lot of it is because my mom was killed by a drunk driver when I was 6 years old. So I have a lot of conflicting emotions, about it. Just about drinking in general. So, and I definitely don't like to go into liquor stores. I don't know anything about liquor, as you could just tell. So I just wrote him back, and I said, look, I'll go if you want me to, but honestly, I would rather not. And he's like, I'm not going to make you do that. And I'm like, well, good, because I'm not. So I didn't. I mean, I love my husband, and if he would have asked me to do it, I would have. But I'm like, look, this is your new hobby. You don't need to be going hog wild, getting all this stuff. And then I thought, anyways, it's his hobby, you know. It's not my hobby. So, part of his hobby should be finding it and buying it and all that. It shouldn't matter if I go and get it. But I know how it is when you first get into a new hobby. I think he has maybe 10 bottles, if that. And he's like, there's people in that group that have 200 bottles. And I'm like, yeah, and there's people in my groups that have 200 coloring books. Or, that doesn't mean I need 200 coloring books. Good Lord, I probably do have 200 coloring books. Let's see, what else can I tell you guys? When I was thrifting with my friend Shannon, I love the Mindware, like color by numbers. And my friend Nisa, my best friend Nisa, that sent me the Mary Mail. She was saying that the only one that she had was a color counts that had the cat on the front. And so while I was thrifting, I found that book. And I couldn't believe it. But there was also 2 other books there. And they hadn't been colored in. So I grabbed them because they were in good condition. So when I got home, me and Nisa have been doing Marco Polo. It's an app that you can do like video messages to each other. So I can just leave her a video message. She can watch it whenever. We love it. We love it because we do not like to chat live. We're too busy. We don't have time to sit down and video chat. But this is great, and we use it all the time. It's so nice. Because, like, the other day I was in Hobby Lobby and I wanted to show her something. So I just flipped open Marco Polo and I was like, hey, look at this. What do you think of this? And she wasn't available at the time. But then, a couple of hours later when she was available, she watched it and said, oh, yeah, that's really cool. Oh, my gosh, whatever. We love it. We absolutely love it because we have stayed in touch better now than ever because we're not one to talk on the phone either. Because, like I said, getting us together when we have the time to talk to each other, So Marco Polo works for us. I don't know where I was going with this. Oh, yeah. So when I got home, I set up my phone and turned on Marco Polo and showed her all the stuff that I had gotten. And later that night, she'd sent me a video back and she said, you are going to die. But she said, those first 3 books that you found or whatever, I have them. I have all of them. I was like, oh my God. Which is just so wild. It's just so wild that she had, because these are like old books and all that. And so we're just now trying to, because I didn't even realize she colored. She didn't realize I colored. So we're kind of rediscovering each other and our relationship. Because we've been friends for many, many moons. I met her in college and I forced her to be my friend. um, And now we're lifelong friends, and she lives in Kentucky, and I live in Tennessee, and we live on like opposite ends of the state, which suck. So we've only seen each other, I think, once or twice in like the past. Well, we've seen each other once in the past 18 years. because she came up when Kenan was small. I went to go see her when Kenan was small, and Kenan choked on a McDonald's French fry, and she saved his life. So Kenan is alive because of her. Um, she just totally reacted before I could even react, before I could even fully comprehend what was going on. She already had him up and upside down and pounding his back. I think she had him before doing it before he even knew he was choking. She's like that though. She's a she's a spry little thing. She's very observant like that. I love her very much, and I'm very happy that we're rediscovering our friendship. Marco Polo has been a great blessing to us. So, and now God has provided us with some coloring books that both of us have. I think it's great. One thing that I've been trying to tell her is to trust the process, because she's real bad to say, oh, that looks awful, and stop. It's kind of like I am now. I'm like, this looks awful, I should stop. But I'm going to continue going because this is an experiment. Maybe I can still turn this into something that'll look okay and decent. We shall see. It's an experiment, therefore I'm going to keep going. There is one other thing that's happened, and I didn't know if I was going to mention it or not, but I think that I will. My step grandmother died day before yesterday. I just found out about it yesterday. And it's been the first person that I've heard, that I know personally that's died that I'm happy about. I'm glad she's dead. I'm glad she's dead. It's been a long time coming. Is that bad of me? Maybe. She did me a lot of ill and hurt me and my family really badly. So, yeah, I just really don't. I feel bad about that. They're all like, you shouldn't speak ill of the dead and all that. And I'm just like, screw that. She did me horribly. Horribly. She married my grandfather when I was 17 or 18. My grandmother had not been dead that long. And I understood why my grandfather got married, because he didn't know how to take care of himself, and he was lonely, and they went to high school together, so they had history. So it was a familiar kind of thing. And she moved into our family home, and then she quickly moved back out because she said my grandmother was haunting her and told her to get out. And at the time, I was like, that's such bull crap. And now I'm like, maybe Mama knew something I didn't know. Because she seemed like a nice lady. Um, she helped my grandfather a lot in losing his wife and all that. She was really nice to me and all that. I didn't have anything against her. Um, they came to me and asked me what I thought about them getting married. Dad was very, I call my grandfather Dad, if y'all get confused. Because he raised me. So Dad came to me, was very adamant that uh, the money would be kept separate, that, I would still be taken care of and all that. Now, you got to realize my grandfather talked a lot about money. It was very important to him. He grew up in the Great Depression. If you know anybody who grew up in the Great Depression that was really hit hard by it, yeah, money and saving things and being frugal and all that, plays into that. Right? So, he told me that, all this. So, I was like, okay, Dad, yeah. And I mean, it was totally, yeah, that's what I expected because that's the way he was and all this. Well, then when my dad started getting dementia and we didn't know it yet, I went over to visit one day and he kept telling me that they went to update the will and he wanted me to read it. And I was like, okay. Well, Opal, my step grandmother, was like, Fred, she doesn't want to read the will, let her be. And I didn't think nothing of it. Dad brought it to me, and the way that the will was written, it now stated that if he died, okay, here's Opal, here's my dad. If she died, all the money would go to him. And then when he would die, that would be split between me and my Aunt Nancy. All right, now, if he died, all the money would go to Opal, and then when she died, all the assets would go and be split between her two kids, Janet and James. So when I read this, I was like, whoa, 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 guys, the way it should read is that the money will go to Opal, and then when she dies, it'll be split 4 ways. Same thing, 4 ways. And Dad's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. So, I told Nancy about it. Dad made an appointment to go to the lawyer to get it fixed. Me and Nancy, went with them because we thought we were helping. And when we walked into the lawyer's office, I'll never forget this, guys. Walked into the lawyer's office, and there was 2 seats at the desk, which Dad and Opal took. And then me and Nancy walked to the back, and before my butt could hit the chair, Dad says, "This is my wife, Opal, and I think she deserves all the money, don't you?" And I absolutely froze before my butt hit the chair. I mean, I just froze, kind of squatted down, and I just thought, oh no, oh no, oh no. And the lawyer looked up at me, crossed his arms, gave me the dirtiest look, and said, I absolutely do. And from that moment on, Nancy and I couldn't even say anything. But I absolutely remember the smug look on Opal's face. And I remember getting into the car after the meeting and just crying my eyes out. Then we found out that Dad did have dementia. And it was bad. That is what he ended up dying from. He wasted away. But during this time, Opal decided that she needed to cut me and Nancy out of his life. I won't speak to the things that she said about Nancy, but for me, she said, and some of these things that she includes Nancy on this too, so. But I'll just say for me, she told the doctors and the nurses that I was extremely abusive to my grandfather. That I would verbally berate him, that I was physically abusive to him. And therefore, anytime that I would come in to see my grandfather, I was treated like crap. I was treated like crap anytime I tried to call and ask about him. It was awful. It was awful. She also told them that we tried to get Dad to sign some papers to get his money. And the only thing I can think about that is that we had brought in, I had found a box of like old documents and stuff, and I found where an old document of my grandfather's about his Aunt Carrie. something about her property, and I brought it in for him to look at, because that's what you do with dementia patients. You know, you bring in old things, and because that's what they remember. And so we talked about it. We had a really great conversation, and he was really lucid that day, and it was wonderful. It really sparked some good memories in him, and it was like one of the highlights. One of the highlights. So if you have somebody with dementia, you'll know it was one of the clarity days, and it was so wonderful, and we had such a great visit, and we left on such a high note, and it was so wonderful. And then it was just like we weren't allowed to bring in any papers or anything like that, and we didn't know why, what had happened. And then come to find out, somebody told us that we don't need to be bringing in no documents for him to sign. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. So yeah. I could never visit with my dad without nurses just like, hovering over. And it was just so sad because my grandfather loved me a lot, and he wanted me to be taken care of. And if he knew how she treated us and all that, well, get this. After after that whole will debacle, um, before when he was actually had dementia, but before people really, really knew what was going on, she went and had him change the will yet again. So she had it drawn up to where now the will states, and as far as I know, this was the final will. So now the will states not only, does hold, hey, um, like I said, oh, well, it goes to the other person and down to their kids and their kids alone. But now the will states, and as of the time that my grandfather died, that Nancy and I are not entitled to any personal effects. So that means nothing. I have nothing on my grandfather's. The man that raised me, I have nothing. Nothing. Why? Because Opal is a vindictive bitch. So, you tell me, would you spook ill of the dead? Would you be happy when you find out that person died? The only thing I ever wanted of my grandfather's was his harmonica and his pocket knife. And after Dad died, um, Nancy told her so. I didn't really talk to her much after that. After he died, we did have one dispute with something with life insurance, and I had to get some kind of document from her, and she wouldn't give it to me. And I was like, I said, all I'm doing is trying to check on this life insurance. I'm not trying anything, and she just wouldn't give it to me. And she called me a bitch. So I just finally had to tell the life insurance. I was like, I can't get the information. You'll have to talk to her. She also told me after my grandfather died, if I ever came around, that she would call the cops on me and said that and tell them that I was threatening her life. Guys, I can't even. I just cannot even. She was just a piece of work. And I mean, I understand fear makes you do all kinds of things. And whatever. All I wanted was those things. All that Nancy wanted was a wooden box that Dad had made in high school. And Nancy had asked Opal, and she asked Janet, Opal's daughter, and they both would say, yeah, we'll look for it when we get the time. I'm thinking, what are you doing? Opal was in her 90s. What are y'all doing with your time that you don't have time to look for a wooden box? But Nancy and I have come to terms with it a long time ago. And this is just kind of like the final thing. I feel sorry for her daughter because in the end, her daughter is the one that had to take care of her by herself because her son became an alcoholic. And I often thought, if Opal was just nicer to me and Nancy are very giving and loving people. Nancy especially. Nancy is much more of a caregiver than I am. I'm much more of an encourager, a helper. Nancy is like full blown, caregiver. She wants to make you soup. She wants to, totally take care of you. And Nancy would have done anything in the world for Opal in respect for our grandfather, if nothing else. But Opal just totally disrespected us and made sure that we were persona non grata. And therefore, Janet had to bear the burden alone. And it's sad. I mean, it's just sad. Nancy, several times in the end, would contact them and say, would you like me to come and visit her in the nursing home or sit with her for a while? And Janet would just say, I'll let you know. But then she, you know, but I definitely did not, because I'm going to tell you, I love my grandfather and I am very thankful for everything he ever did for me. In fact, I wrote him letters almost every single Father's Day since I was probably 7 years old, thanking him for taking care of me. Thanking him for taking such good care of me that, because I was a ward of the state, so he didn't have to take care of me. I could have went into foster care, but they did because they loved me, and I appreciate it. And I appreciate everything, all the opportunities they gave me, all the opportunities especially that he gave me. He wasn't perfect. Nobody is. There were things that he really hurt me with, like when I got married to Ken. Ken got a job down in Georgia, but I hadn't finished school yet, and I needed a place to stay because I couldn't afford to live in an apartment. And then him lived down in Georgia, and my grandfather said, "No, you can't live here. You have to go to Georgia and be with your husband." And it sucked because it screwed up my school, so then I couldn't finish school. And it was a hard life lesson or whatever, and I don't agree with it, but it was his choice. So I don't know if that was him being bitter that I had gotten married before I finished school or what. But yeah. Um, but it was just so hurtful because I was so thankful for all my grandfather's sacrifices for me. And then for her to, I just don't understand people's motivations sometimes. I just don't. But the thing is, God's blessed me. God blessed me when Dad died. I went to go see him in the nursing home. And by this point, he was wasting away, guys. It was pitiful. He wasn't eating. He wasn't drinking. And he just looked plumb pitiful. And it was my grandmother's birthday. And I remember telling Dad, look, I know that you would hate all this crap that's going on, all this stuff that Opal has said and done. And I was like, I'm going to be okay. Everybody's okay. We have Jeremy to take care of us. Dad did have one moment of clarity one time when we were at the hospital. And he looked at Jeremy and he said, take good care of her. She's had a hard life. And that meant a lot to me because, he gave Jeremy his blessing. So I really felt like in a lot of ways he passed the torch to Jeremy then to take care of me. So that evening I told him, I was like, I'm okay, Kennan's okay, Nancy and her brood are okay, we'll be okay. I was like, but this is hurting us. You lingering here is hurting us. I was like, it would mean so much to me and Nancy if you would leave today, and because then it would be a sign that to us that you don't agree with how we've been treated and all this. I was like, I know you miss Mama. I was like, just go to her. I was like, this would mean so much to us if you did. And I came home that night, and me and Jeremy were watching TV, and I was laying on the couch with my head in his lap, watching TV, and he was stroking my hair, and I heard this on the window, and I was like, bye, Dad. I just knew it was him. I just felt this peace. I just knew it was him. I just smiled. I just knew. Everything about me, I just knew. And I've never heard anything like that ever at my window before or since. And I just knew he was gone. And then about 20 minutes, Nancy called me and told me that Dad was dead. And I knew. I already knew he was gone. So he did exactly what I asked him to do. Is he left on my grandmother's birthday, and I really think that was him at my window to let me know he heard me. He heard me. But I tell you what, I can't complain. God has blessed me greatly. I have a wonderful life. I want for nothing. Um, I hope that her life was okay there at the end. I never wished her any ill, but like I said, I'm certainly not sad to see her go. And I'll repeat what I often repeat: only the good die young. That's just a joke. She was 96. So she lived a good long life, and I know her grandkids loved her and all that. So, they probably needed Dad's money way more than me and Nancy ever would. So, it all works out in the end. And on that dour note, I think I'm going to let you guys go. It's getting to be more towards lunchtime, so I'm going to have to go in here, and we're going to have BLTs for lunch, so I need to make the bacon. But I will talk to you soon. Thanks for hanging out with me. We'll catch up on this glue book soon. You let me know. What do you think? Do you think it looks like crap the way I think it looks like crap? All right, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.